So we can pivot into what we wanted to talk about before this, which was the Great Resignation. You know, cats getting fired like Cuomo and potentially Don Lemon. And who was it that brought it up? It was you, Tron, right?
Yeah.
So I don't understand people's fascination with around the Great Resignation, why they don't understand why people are quitting jobs in droves.
But see, most of that is a myth.
What do you mean?
Most of that is a myth. The conversation around the Great Resignation is that it's really two fronts, but both of them are kind of false. The first front is where people don't want to go to work because they receive money from the government and
Bullshit.
yada yada yada. That's bullshit. The government don't really give you nothing.
They really don't.
They're trying to blame the stimulus checks, but that wasn't nothing. Then they try to say the unemployment benefits, but the majority of the people didn't get unemployment benefits because in order to get unemployment benefits, the emergency unemployment benefits, your job had to be erased because of COVID. And if you were working in a restaurant during COVID, you didn't lose your job, so you didn't get no benefits. If you were cashier at Kroger's during COVID, you ain't getting no unemployment benefits. Like the majority of the people that make less than $15 an hour, which is what people want the minimum wage to go up to, they didn't stop working during the pandemic, unless you worked at a restaurant that was shut down, or a bar or something, like a bartender or whatever. Majority of the people were still working. McDonald's never shut down during the pandemic.
Never.
You know what I'm saying? Kroger did not shut down during the pandemic. Walmart was still open. You know what I'm saying? Not a single hospital was shut down. No healthcare facility at all. Right? So the majority of the people who got those unemployment benefits were people who jobs were deleted, who jobs were snapped out of here, which was not the majority of the people. So you can't blame them for the Great Resignation. And then the other side of the coin is people were quitting their jobs because they paid too little and it was crappy. No, I believe that was a total lie as well. What I believe what was happening was that these jobs, especially in the fast food industry, were using the excuse of people quitting to not hire more people so they can pay for less work. So if you have a McDonald's and they only got 2 people working in there, those 2 people are doing a job of 6. They not paying 6 people, and they not paying those 2 people the price of 6 people. They money did not triple. You know what I'm saying? They saving it. They were banking on that. That's why all their revenues went up, because their overhead went down, and they're lying to you.
I'll be right back.
All right, and they're lying to you, saying that, oh, we got to shut down the drive-through because nobody wants to work. That's not the case. You're just not hiring because you're trying to burn out the people that are already there, and then when they get burnt out, you're just gonna replace them with 2 more people instead of having a full staff.
So something interesting got talked about with a couple cats in my job, right? And I think it hits the nail right on the head for some of this when people are talking about it, right? So I'm pretty sure right now, if you look like online, they're talking about like everybody's hiring, right? Like all these companies are hiring, right? But if you talk to pretty much anybody that we know that are actively looking for work, right? How many of them have put in for jobs and said, oh, I put in for a job, and then they said, no, we don't need you, right? But this same place just got done advertising like 20 positions, but yet they ain't hired nobody for these positions yet. And what my buddy at work was saying was that everybody that could take out a PPP loan, right? They took out the PPP loans, and depending on what company you were, like we'll take Kanye, right? Kanye's company got like over like 1.8 million, right? As a PPP loan. But
like
his company wasn't struggling. So, it's going to come a time when they got to pay those loans back, which if I'm correct, Kanye's shoe company did pay that loan back. So let me make sure I'm not liable for that. But a lot of these companies are like, okay, hey, if we say that we're advertising for positions, but we don't hire nobody, we don't have to pay the loan back because we're actively hiring people. Just because you're actively hiring doesn't mean you got to take them in.
Exactly. That's why I say it's a myth. And it is really meant to like scare up people to vote however they want them to vote. Because it's not that people are quitting their jobs in droves. Yeah, people are quitting, but the ones that are quitting are like, you know, young people who don't really have any, you know, real responsibilities like that. Like if I'm 17 and it is only me and another dude working at this restaurant, yeah, I'm gonna quit. I done been in restaurants where I done talked to a waitress. I had went to this restaurant on a date. I talked to the waitress, and the waitress was like, "This is my last day." They're like, man, people, they come, they yell at me, they cuss me out because they have to wait 45 minutes because you know social distancing and all that. And like when they have to, when like I don't know how they're doing it now, currently, but at that time, you know, you're gonna have a certain amount of people in the restaurant. So it usually come with a wait time. And sometimes it'd be like a 45-minute wait. And then they don't have that much staff in the kitchen to cook the food, so you have to wait even more, which agitates people and they get all riled up and mad and don't leave a tip. And a young lady told me like, shoot, yesterday I only got a $1 tip the whole day. That's why I'm quitting. And I can imagine that her story is not unique at all. It probably happens everywhere all the time. And she won number like 18, 19.
And the thing is, in this situation about the people that are inside of the Great Resignation, at least the people who are quitting, is that how are these companies talking about like, oh, nobody wants to work for us, which is bullshit again. But
again, that's just drumming up sympathy to have you feel a certain type of way.
But your CEO is about to make 16 million this year.
In reality, the people that are actually participating in the Great Resignation have the necessary savings and resources to do that. Right? These are people that are a part of what is commonly known as the professional managerial class. You know, accountants, people that work in the office, you know, your Jims and Pams and Dwights. You know what I'm saying? Jim, Pam, and Dwight, and Angela and Oscar and Kevin and all of them, they can quit their job because a lot of times, either their job can be done from the house, like they can work from home, or they probably got enough money saved up so where they can take a couple of months off and not work and invest in something else and do something else or start their own little Etsy business or whatever.
Whatever it is that's going to keep them busy while they find something else.
Right, they got enough money to make more money not doing traditional stuff. But if you working like most people work in a job that pays less than $15 an hour, the majority of the country makes less than $35,000 a year, right? So the majority of the country would not be able to participate in the Great Resignation because if they quit their jobs, they're homeless and starving. You know what I'm saying? The kids won't have no shoes and none of that good stuff. Because in order, like in talking about like the child tax credit, you have to be a taxpayer to get that money. Because that's one of the things that they're saying is leading to people not wanting to work, which is not true. Because you have to have a job to get the tax credit because that's a part of your tax refund.
By the way, there's a trick to that. If most people don't know that's listening to it, right? So let's just say during the course of 2021, you was getting a child tax credit, right? And they're like, oh, well, we're going to afford you this $1,400 this month. And then they skip a couple months and they say, okay, we're going to give you the next installment of it. Well, when it comes time for you to do taxes, that child tax credit that you would normally see that would make your taxes easier, it's not going to be that way when you file your taxes next year.
No, because the tax credit they're giving out now is for that first 3,600 that you would get per child, because it's like 3,600 per child. That first one, been chopped up. It's really been cut in half. Well, no, they made it permanent now because of the infrastructure bill. Because it was supposed to end this month. This was supposed to have been the last month for it. And that money is coming off the top of that $36,000 that you would have already gotten during your tax return. So half of that is gonna automatically be gone off your next tax refund check. I looked at that because I got dependents. So I receive the Joe Biden check every month. I get $500 every month. But that money is coming from the tax return that I would have gotten in like February next year. That's where that money comes from. It's not coming from the Federal Reserve. They're not printing that to put in my pockets. That's money that I've already paid in and I'm already supposed to have gotten. It just been given to me early.
Is it getting you a loan?
In installments. It's not even a loan.
Yes, essentially it's a loan.
No, it's not a loan because you don't pay that back because that was money that you were already supposed to get. It just came early and in pieces. You know what I'm saying? That $3,600 is per child on your tax return. So if you got like 3 dependents, that's $3,600 per dependent per child. That first $3,600 is what was chopped in half and was given out throughout the year when they started, but they made it permanent now. So that's gonna be continuous. So the more they do that, the less and less the actual tax refund check is gonna be because you're already getting that money. Instead of waiting for that lump sum in February, you're getting it throughout the month based on the criteria of the number of kids you got and their age. For example, on mine, I have 2 child dependents that's over the age of 6. So that's $250 per child because kids 6 to 17, you would get $250 per child, and any child that's under 6, you get $300. So like you got like a baby that was born before you filed your taxes last year, you would get $300 for that kid. And if you got like a 2-year-old, you get $300 for that kid. And if you got like a 4-year-old, you get $300 for that kid. So that's $900 a month up to that $3,600. So yeah, it's time for me to have some kids. This would be the time to have children. Because if you don't have kids or you don't have no child dependents on your tax returns, you ain't get none of that. Which is the majority of young people because we have a birth crisis in the country. It's not enough. It's not enough people my age and younger having kids and actually working jobs and paying taxes to receive that. So that's another part of the Great Resignation myth. That is a myth. Ain't nobody's quitting their job because they're getting $500 a month from the government. That pays nothing.
Nothing.
That's like a phone bill and a bag of cookies. That ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you a question. This is probably a good point for us to segue off. And again, going out of order.